What are some of the most common ways that you see anxiety come up in relationships just across the board in a general sense?
Yeah, I think when I talk to people about their relationship anxiety, I feel like their need to control things and make things go exactly like they think it should, that makes them feel safe. That's pure anxiety, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that it was described to me that I love was that spectrum of anxiety and depression. And depression is it's living in the past and an over focus on that. And anxiety is living and focusing on the future and trying to control that so that we feel better about it. And I do see and hear people a lot. Well, what if this happens? What if I just do this and this and this and it'll change the future? So reminding myself and others that really all we can do is try to stick ourselves in the present, deal
Yeah.
with situations as they are now with the facts that we have as they are now. That's really all we can do. But what is it? Catastrophizing,
Yep.
imagining the worst case scenario projected out into the future and trying to predict and control our partner so that those uncomfortable things don't happen. That's probably the biggest way that I see anxiety manifested in relationships.
I completely agree. And I had a client just even recently talking about that she was struggling so much with trust. And when we really
Mhm.
boiled it down, it really had nothing to do with her not trusting her partner. It had
Yeah.
everything to do with her own anxieties and her own traumas and what was role modeled for her for relationships. And so
Mhm.
if that happened with these people who were supposed to be safe, it could happen with anyone. It is the narrative that we create, right? And so
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, because when people don't make that distinction, they
Mhm.
do try to control their partner because their
Yeah.
brain and the narrative is going to, well, they could cheat on me, or what if they're cheating on me? So now I need to
Right.
know where they're at. I need to track their location. I need them to text me
Mm.
every hour. I need all of these things that, quite frankly, if somebody's going to cheat, is actually not going to prevent that.
No, I had my partner early in our relationship. He noticed when I was trying to predict what would happen and control
Mhm.
him in a way, and I love it. He sat me down and he said, "I'm not your ex, and I need you to stop treating me like I am. You need to give
Oh,
me the chance to prove to you who I am, without you trying to predict who I'm going to be." And that really stopped me in my tracks. I didn't even realize I was doing it, which is another thing that anxiety does. We don't often realize that we're operating from an anxious place when we're making our decisions and having those thoughts.
how do you help people to become aware of, like, that's where the catastrophizing is coming from, or that's where the really the maladaptive behaviors are coming from? How do you help them to make that connection?
I think with the posts on my Instagram page, really like throwing some common scripts out, things that we tell ourselves in our heads. When they see that stuff on the page and they're like, she's reading my mind, that's what I'm thinking. And I can say, these are anxious thoughts. These aren't necessarily reality.
Mm.
I hope that helps people realize that we shouldn't necessarily believe all the anxious thoughts that we have, and that they may be coming from a place that's not necessarily reality.
What are some common anxious thoughts that even on like a post you've done that you've referenced?
I think, let me think of some good ones. Gosh, it's,
Sorry, put you on the spot.
no, that's okay. I know. I think the idea, the thought, I'm too much for my partner, that's a
Mm,
really common one that comes back over and over again. Um,
yeah,
when really, I mean, the right person with the right coping skills and good communication is going to tell you when what you're doing is excessive and how it's affecting them. I
right.
think it's tough to be too much with the right person because they're going to let you know, hey, what's happening here is not working. Let's figure something else out. Um, what else? Hmm. I I'm always sad when people say that they feel like they want too much too, because
Mm,
it's I feel like that's pretty tough to do in relationships too, considering there's somebody out there who probably wants the same level of interaction and closeness that you do.
yeah.
And you probably shouldn't shame yourself for what you want.
I find that interesting. I have a post that is, it doesn't make you needy if for something like that is the prompt of it. And it's
Yeah.
always so interesting to me how many people are just like so grateful to have that normalized. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you don't know how many times my ex told me this, or their current partner
Mhm.
said, because I wanted, one of the things that I list that made me needy. And I
Yeah.
always find it simultaneously fascinating the other set of comments where it's like, well, no, that actually does make you needy, or no, that means you need help, or no, that means there's something wrong with you.
Oh,
And I'm always like, okay, so let me not psychoanalyze the comments here, but
right.
like there's often so much, as you're saying, like the right person will show up for those needs and will be able to, will be happy to meet those
Yeah.
needs and to hold safety for that. But oh, go ahead.
Or the right person can let you know, hey, I see your request and I'm not capable of giving you this thing, but I'm just letting you know that I see you and I hear you, and it's okay for you to want that, but I can't offer you that thing.
Yes, and that is also such a good point. And to normalize that that's okay for
And
somebody
that's
to
okay
say.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that creates this acceptance, or change is the term that I often use for people. When you're expressing a need,
Mm-hmm.
your partner gets to decide, they get to like accept that and decide they're going to meet it, or they're going to say, I can't. And then you get to
Yeah.
take that response and you get to decide what to do with that response. Because
Mm-hmm.
I hear clients say a lot, well, they refuse to meet my needs. Like there's nothing I can do about it. But there's a lot you can do about it. In the anxious
Usually,
mind, it
yeah.
doesn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But even if the do something about it is that we change our perspective, or that we change
Yeah.
the relationship, or I think that usually there is something within their circle of control.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so tough for the anxiously attached, though, because we're outsourcing all of our power and control.
Yeah.
We want other people to take care of us because we don't feel like we're capable of taking care of ourselves and our own needs.